This week, the Australian news has been dominated by budget talks, so we thought this is a great opportunity to discuss the migration review and the minister's desire to reshape the points test.
And a critical change here is how we design what is called the points test. But the current test is not working properly. The bar is set too low, and today the points test rewards persistence, not the skills we need for Australia's future. Getting that points test right could add tens of billions of dollars to the federal budget over the coming decades and make a real difference to economic growth in our country.
Now, how this will happen, we don't exactly know yet. What we do know is that they are determined to make new policies to control who comes to Australia and their pathways to permanent residency.
We will propose to reform the way we determine which temporary migrants end up as permanent residents and ultimately citizens.
One thing we can be sure of is that the points test and the associated visas which use them will still be around after this reform has taken place.
Every year, our country selects roughly 100,000 permanent residents using the points test. By 2050, it is possible that we will have millions of additional people here who have been selected using this test.
They may even continue to use the existing visas going forward, the 189, 190 and 491 subclasses. People are worried out there in what manner is the points test going to change and when it may change. We can only give our opinion for now, for the government is not saying much. We know what the minister has said and we know what is in the review papers. From this we can have a pretty good guess. Remember, this is an estimate based upon my 24 years of getting tens of thousands of our clients their permanent residency using the different versions of the points test. According to the Migration Review documents released in April and the Home Affairs Minister's comments, the last 2 decades of international students dominating the skilled migration program may be coming to an end. The minister sees the point test as being broken and allowing former international students to gain permanent residency.
The issue is that this has become the dominant feeder into our permanent program. So we've set a low bar. We have a broken test that converts someone from a temporary to a permanent migrant. And this is basically part of the dynamic that's a bit broken at the moment. The problem is that today, international students are the largest component of our temporary migration program and the single biggest feeder into our permanent program. More than half of the people who received a permanent skilled visa under our current system arrived in Australia initially as an international student.
But if the minister does not like this more than half figure, let's say 54% as one journalist raised later, I think she should come clean and let all international students studying here know what she thinks the percentage level should be. Over these last 20 years, it has evolved, making international students work harder, spend more money and more time to gain more points. Those ridiculous professional year programs are a perfect example. However, the focus on the points test was to continue to give them an advantage over offshore applicants. What are those advantages in the points, you ask? Well, they are 5 points for study in Australia, 5 points for regional study in Australia, 5 points for the professional year programs, and to a certain degree, 5 points for Australian work experience and 5 points for community language points. Remember, it has only been recently that the NAATI test has been easily available to offshore applicants since they made the test online during the pandemic. With these points advantages, former international students who have remained in Australia after their studies could manage up to 105 points, as you can see here. 100 points for the 189 visa or 105 points for the state-sponsored 190 visa. 100 or 105 points is very difficult or nearly impossible for offshore applicants to reach. And here is why when you look at the points of a good offshore applicant may reach. Of course, if you have this much work experience in order to gain 15 points in your occupation, you are most likely to be over 33 years of age, so you would in fact lose 5 points. And as far as community language points go, many offshore people have never heard of it or how to do it. So you can see the realistic maximum score for an offshore applicant is usually about 85 for the 189 visa and maybe 90 if they discovered the NAATI test. In addition to this, most offshore applicants who do not live or were not educated in an English-speaking country have difficulty in obtaining the superior English level. The onshore students have years to practice while they study in Australia, Australia, and then they work very hard to get the top scores. Ending the dominance of international students can only be done in one way: the recalibration of the points test.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
When this recalibration is complete, many international students may feel very left out. There will be a new type of skilled occupation list, and Jobs and Skills Australia will be given the task to come up with the occupations we need based upon verifiable research data. We may find that occupations themselves are given a points level, like the way it used to be, with the highest points awarded to target sectors Australia is looking to develop. The review proposed an additional 3 new high-end skill categories. Firstly, in-demand skills, those with top skills in high demand globally, for example a mid-30s STEM professional who earns $300,000 a year at a large global technology company. Secondly, high human capital, those with particularly desirable human capital attributes, not necessarily related to specific skill needs, for example a 26-year-old graduating with a PhD from a top global university. And thirdly, exceptional cases, those who don't fit in the mold across many standard attributes but have specific exceptional characteristics, for example an older prize-winning academic. Now, how much subjective sounding classifications could be written into law will be a very interesting challenge. I'm sure there's already a team of lawyers making drafts as I speak. The review also published this interesting comment: the points test used to select skilled migrants without an existing job offer is not designed to identify applicants with the best potential to contribute to Australia over the long term. The Western Australian government is already using such a selection criteria by offering permanent residency state-sponsored 190 visas to applicants who can demonstrate a job offer in the occupations they seek. We know the government is looking at making the entire points test more granular, as outlined in the review. Greater granularity and increased weight upon the key markers of success would help differentiate between candidates and target the program towards those who offer the greatest long-term economic benefit. Age would most definitely be one of those key markers. The current points test for the age category was singled out as not providing enough of the focus on young people, which all countries around the world are desperately seeking. Australia allocates the same number of age points to a 24-year-old applicant and a 39-year-old applicant, even though the younger applicant is likely to contribute many more years to Australia's workforce, and the older applicant will be separately rewarded by additional points for their longer period of work experience. The review looked at Canada and how they administered their points test and seemed impressed. They particularly liked Canada's allocations for points based on age, whereby the number of points available for an applicant's age gradually reduces above 30 years to 0 at 45 years. Other key markers would no doubt be the applicant's English level and years of work experience. We may see the advantage of Australian work experience be brought into line with the overseas work experience points in order to level the playing field. In the end, whatever system we end up with, international students will be the biggest losers in the skilled independent 189 styled visas. When it comes to state and territory sponsored resident visas, this may be the pathway international students will be herded. In most cases, the states are more concerned about applicants who are committed to their state over the highest possible point scores. This commitment is often weighted towards applicants who are working in their occupations and already living in the regions. International students who study in regional areas and continue to live there on their temporary working visas must in the long run offer more benefits to regional communities. And when will this new points test be ready? There would be a great deal of law to sort out, and the Immigration Department's online IT system must also be recalibrated. Personally, I cannot see it happening in the next financial year. We may of course get a new occupation list in the meantime, which is easy to adjust, possibly as soon as the 1st of July. Stay tuned for all the new developments by making sure you have subscribed to our channel. It is not all doom and gloom for international students, and in the next special edition we will cover some of the recommendations for other pathways which may open up for them. And thank you all so much for the support you have shown this channel. If you need help, we offer consultations on Zoom, Skype and the telephone. You can visit our website to make an appointment or just pick up the phone. As always, take care out there and I'll see you next time. So bye for now.